Hi, I'm David Johnson, and this is Verse by Verse. Do you know anyone who's going through a difficult time? It might be a neighbor, a family member, a friend, or it might very well be the tired, sad person you see in the mirror when you get up in the morning. Everyone has difficulties and challenges that come in life and only last for a short time. A child gets sick, an appliance breaks down, an event you were looking forward to gets canceled. Those are the normal events in anyone's life, and most people cope with those disappointments relatively easily. But what do you do when it's not that easy? What if it's not a short-term, self-limiting problem? What if it's one of those problems that seems like it will go on forever and you can't see any good outcome as a possibility? You know the kind. A loved one going through a terminal illness. A parent or a mate begins the gradual downward spiral of dementia and gradually losing touch with reality. Or maybe it's one of those ongoing trials that wears you down, saps your energy, and leaves you feeling hopeless and disheartened. And no matter what you do, there seems to be no end in sight. The excited young couple promising to love one another in sickness and in health till death do us part probably have very little idea how overwhelming those commitments can sometimes be. What do you do when you feel like God Himself has turned His back and left you on your own to try to get by? According to the World Health Organization, somewhere between 5% and 8% of all people will suffer from clinical depression in their lifetime, and nearly 300 million people at any given moment. But clinical depression is only the tip of the proverbial iceberg. Feelings of hopelessness in the face of seemingly insurmountable difficulties can be a virtually universal reaction to the kinds of chronic problems we humans commonly face. Today's scripture does not give us a magic formula for making sure we don't have that kind of problem, nor does it tell us how to keep from ever feeling disheartened and overwhelmed by life's unexpected and painful blows. In fact, Jesus told His followers that in the world they would have tribulation. Paul repeatedly talked about the difficult times all believers will endure, and Peter said we should not think it a strange thing when we fall into diverse trials. God never promised His people a fairy tale existence free of troubles and worries. Instead, what He did was to give us a perspective that can keep us on track and moving forward even during the dark times. The passage we want to consider today gives us two important tools that can help us when those difficult times come upon us. It's 2 Corinthians 4, verses 16 through 18. Therefore we do not lose heart. Even though our outward man is perishing, yet the inward man is being renewed day by day. For our light affliction, which is but for a moment, is working for us a far more exceeding and eternal weight of glory, while we do not look at the things which are seen, but at the things which are not seen. For the things which are seen are temporary, but the things which are not seen are eternal. The first tool is found in verse 16, when Paul wrote that our inward man, the person we are deep inside at the core of our being, must be continually renewed. In Romans 12:2, Paul talked about our being transformed by the renewing of our minds. And in Ephesians 4, verses 23 and 24, he tells us that the spirit of our mind is renewed by continually trying to become more like Jesus Christ in our thoughts and actions. Making sure that we daily take in God's thoughts through personal prayer and Bible study, no matter what our trials may be, gives us an invaluable resource to draw upon. And the second tool grows out of that concept. Paul tells us that the physical trials around us will not magically go away, but beginning each day by putting God's thoughts, values, and plans into our minds will give us a different perspective on life's difficulties. What we're going through today is not the end of the story. The trials are temporary. But the God we serve has prepared something for us that is so wonderful. Today's overwhelming trials will become nothing more than dim memories. Those two tools, daily taking in God's thoughts and having a godly perspective on our trials, can lighten our burdens and keep us going when we might be tempted to give up. But tools don't do the work for us. They only enable us to do what we couldn't do without them. If you'd like to know more, the Life, Hope, and Truth website can be a great resource. Check out the show notes for details.
Verse by Verse is a companion podcast to the Daily Bible Verse blog, which you can find on the Life, Hope, and Truth Learning Center. Check out the show notes for more.